If God is perfect, then why do some people suffer in ways no one else does? Were they meant to endure such pain, or was it never supposed to happen? In today's video, we're talking about people so rare, they're born only once in 1,000 years, individuals whose lives make us question fate, destiny, and even God's plan. The woman with a lizard-like tongue. Most people joke about having a long tongue, but Chanel Tapper doesn't need to exaggerate. Hers is truly record-breaking. This woman holds the title for the world's longest tongue, measuring a jaw-dropping 3.8 inches, 9.75 centimeters. That's nearly the size of your palm. Chanel first discovered her unique feature when she was just 8 years old. She was posing for Halloween pictures with her mother when they both stuck out their tongues, and hers was noticeably bigger. As she grew up, kids would point it out, making her realize just how different she was. While most people were shocked by her tongue's length, Chanel always found it fun to surprise others with her one-of-a-kind feature. The rare snow-white twins. It's not every day you see twins with hair as white as snow, but Catalina and Virginia are no ordinary twins. Born in Argentina, they became the country's first ever recorded albino twins, a phenomenon so rare that it occurs in just 1 out of 17,000 people worldwide. Albinism is a genetic condition that affects melanin production, leaving their skin, hair, and eyes with little to no pigment. Because of their striking appearance, their family often gets stares and endless questions, but they embrace their uniqueness. Their parents share their story to raise awareness and encourage acceptance of people with albinism. Now, at just 4 years old, Catalina and Virginia have already become social media sensations, capturing hearts with their beauty and positive message. The man who became a cyborg. Imagine living in a world without color, only shades of black and white. That was Neil Harbison's reality. Born completely colorblind, Neil couldn't see any colors, but instead of accepting his condition, he did something incredible. He turned himself into the world's first officially recognized cyborg. In 2004, he developed an antenna-like device implanted in his skull. This invention allows him to hear colors, even those beyond human vision, like ultraviolet and infrared. The antenna picks up light wavelengths and converts them into vibrations that Neil can interpret as sound. Today, he's part human, part machine, and believes that as technology advances, more people will choose to become cyborgs. Would you? The woman who sleeps for 11 days. Most of us love a good nap, but what if you slept for nearly 2 weeks straight? That's the reality for Jodie Robson, a woman from Birmingham, England, who suffers from a condition so rare that only about 1,000 cases have ever been recorded. Jodie has Klein-Levin syndrome, also known as Sleeping Beauty syndrome. When an episode hits, she can sleep for up to 11 days in a row, waking only for short periods to eat or use the bathroom. This disorder has made everyday life a challenge. She can't work, drive, or maintain relationships easily. Scientists still don't fully understand what causes it, but one thing is clear. This is no ordinary case of oversleeping. The hairiest man on Earth, Huang Yuanhong, also known as Yu Zhenhuan, always dreamed of being a rock star, but before his music, he was famous for something else. He is one of the hairiest men in the world, with 96% of his body covered in thick hair. Born in Shenyang, China, Huang was often teased as a child, with people calling him a caveman, but instead of hiding, he embraced his appearance and pursued his passion for music. However, his excessive hair comes with challenges. It affects his hearing, causes discomfort, and has even required multiple surgeries to manage. Despite this, Huang remains optimistic, proving that confidence is the key to standing out, no matter how different you are. The man who ate his way to 1,000 pounds. Kenneth Brumley wasn't always the world's heaviest man. Believe it or not, he was once a talented athlete, but his love for fast food got out of control. Before he knew it, he was consuming a mind-blowing 30,000 calories a day. That's what an average person eats in 2 weeks. His weight skyrocketed to an astonishing 1,032 pounds, 468 kilograms, and soon he couldn't even support his own body. Things got so bad that when rescuers tried to help him, firefighters had to literally tear down the walls of his house just to get him out. His bed had collapsed under his weight, and he was completely bedridden. Luckily, Kenneth's story didn't end there. After medical treatment, and a dramatic weight loss journey, he's doing much better today. Though he has stepped away from the public eye, his transformation is a powerful reminder of how extreme habits can change a life. The woman who chose to remove her nose. Tina Hyatt Earls made an unthinkable decision, one that shocked the world. In 2014, she was diagnosed with stage 3 nasal cancer. Doctors recommended radiation therapy, but the side effects were brutal. It would destroy her skin, nasal system, and even her teeth. Instead, Tina made a life-changing choice. She had her entire nose removed. Her decision wasn't just about survival, it became a mission. She publicly shared her story to raise awareness about nasal cancer and the importance of early detection. Her bravery turned her into a public figure, appearing in news articles and TV shows. To this day, Tina continues to advocate for cancer awareness, urging people to seek medical help for symptoms like breathing difficulties, nosebleeds, or chronic sinus infections. Her story is a testament to strength and the will to fight for life on one's own terms. The woman who sees the world upside down. Imagine waking up one day and everything around you is flipped upside down. Sounds like a glitch in a video game, right? But for Bohana Danilovich, this is her everyday reality. Her brain doesn't process images the way most people's do. Although her eyes see normally, her brain literally flips the world upside down. The condition is called spatial orientation phenomenon, and while rare, it completely changes how she interacts with the world. To read a book, she has to flip it upside down and start from the bottom. At work, her office in Serbia even provides special forms just for her. And at home, her TV is mounted upside down so she can watch it the right way. While it might seem bizarre to others, to Bohana, this is just life as she knows it. Mark Wahlberg's secret extra nipple. Mark Wahlberg is known for his blockbuster movies, but did you know he has a little-known secret? The Hollywood star casually dropped a bombshell during a talk show. He has a third nipple. The surprising revelation happened while chatting with Will Ferrell, and ever since, the world hasn't let him forget it. Though Mark doesn't go out of his way to show it off, fans have been fascinated by this rare trait. It's a reminder that even the biggest celebrities have their own little quirks. The woman with a 99-pound leg. At first glance, Mahogany Geeter looks like any other young woman, but then you see her left leg, it's nearly 100 pounds, 45 kilograms on its own. Mahogany, from Knoxville, Tennessee, was born with a rare condition that causes fluid to build up in her leg, making it swell abnormally. Doctors noticed something was different when she was just a baby, and as she grew, her leg only got larger. While there's no cure, she manages it with physical therapy and special massages to reduce the swelling. Despite the challenges, Mahogany refuses to let it define her. She's now using her story to spread body positivity, showing the world that beauty comes in all forms. The man who didn't bathe for 60 years. Most people feel uncomfortable if they skip a shower for a day or two. But one man took this to a whole new level. Meet Amu, an 87-year-old who lived in the Iranian desert and earned the title of the world's dirtiest man. Not because he skipped a few baths, but because he refused to bathe for 60 years. Amu spent most of his life wandering the desert, sleeping in dens, under stone cabins, or on the outskirts of villages. His diet? Rotting animal flesh, with porcupine being his favorite meal. When thirsty, he drank over 5 liters of water a day, but not from a clean source. He used a rusty tin jug, and if that wasn't shocking enough, he smoked anything he could find, including animal droppings when cigarettes weren't available. But why did he refuse to bathe? According to Amu, he believed water would make him sick. While most people see cleanliness as a key to good health, Amu was convinced the opposite was true. The twins who defied the odds. When Joy and Joyce were born in Nigeria in 2021, doctors knew their case was special. The twin sisters were conjoined, meaning they were physically connected at birth. Their survival depended on a life-changing operation, but separating them was one of the most complicated surgeries imaginable. They were taken to a hospital in Lagos for evaluation, and soon, international medical experts got involved. Volunteers from the Healing Little Hearts charity worked alongside other organizations to fund the costly procedure. The operation would take place in London, but the risks were extreme. Finally, in June 2022, A team of 100 medical professionals worked for 18 straight hours to perform the surgery. Pediatricians, surgeons, and specialists came together to make history. Against all odds, the operation was a success. Joy and Joyce were finally separated, giving hope to families around the world facing similar challenges. The boy who beat a deadly disease, doctors said he wouldn't make it. They believed he'd never walk, let alone play sports. But Stephen Ludwig proved them all wrong. Born with a rare bone disease called Maffucci syndrome, Stephen faced a tough battle from the very start. His bones and cartilage didn't grow normally, and at just 7 years old, he was given a terrifying diagnosis. His survival chance was only 11%. Chemotherapy after chemotherapy failed, and things looked hopeless. Then came a miracle. His brother Jacob's bone marrow transplant saved his life. During his time in the hospital, Stephen got the chance to use his Make-A-Wish request. He chose to fly to Las Vegas and attend the 2007 NBA All-Star Game, where he met his idol, Kobe Bryant. The two instantly connected, and Kobe even challenged Stephen to pass the ball to Shaquille O'Neal. That moment changed everything. Inspired by the experience, Stephen refused to let his disease stop him. Against all odds, he went on to play sports, including tennis, golf, soccer, swimming, and even snowboarding. The boy doctors once doubted became a true fighter. The woman with 4 legs. It sounds impossible, but Myrtle Corbin wasn't just an ordinary woman. She was born with 4 legs. Her condition, known as dipygus, meant she had an extra set of legs, which doctors believed belonged to a twin that never fully developed. But despite this rare and shocking condition, Myrtle didn't let it define her. She became famous at just 13 years old, captivating people with her uniqueness. And if that wasn't surprising enough, Myrtle went on to live a full and happy life. She got married and even gave birth to 8 children. Against all odds, she proved that nothing could hold her back. The twins who look nothing alike. Identical twins are supposed to look the same, right? Well, Adam and Neil Pearson break that rule completely. Born in England in 1984, the brothers share the same DNA, but their appearances couldn't be more different. Neil has a rare condition called neurofibromatosis type 1, NF1, which causes tumors to grow on his face, making him look completely different from his twin brother. Adam, on the other hand, doesn't have NF1 and looks like a typical identical twin. Growing up, their lives took very different paths. While Adam had a relatively normal childhood, Neil faced constant bullying and discrimination because of his appearance. But instead of letting it break him, Neil turned his struggles into strength. He and Adam have since used their platform to spread awareness about NF1, appearing in documentaries and TV shows to promote acceptance and inclusivity. Despite their differences, one thing remains the same. Adam and Neil share an unbreakable bond that no condition can change. A medication that changed his life forever. Kurt Thibodeau thought he was just treating his acne. He never imagined that a simple prescription would turn his life upside down. Back in 2016, he started taking a medication called Myanaslane. At first, the side effects seemed normal. Some hair loss, skin rashes, and stomach issues. Nothing too alarming. But things took a turn for the worse. His skin began to lose its color in large patches, his hair thinned drastically, and he started feeling constant fatigue. Eventually, doctors diagnosed him with a rare and dangerous condition called Rarest syndrome, an immune reaction that causes severe rashes, fevers, and even internal organ damage. Kurt's once normal skin now has large white patches, and his body feels weaker than ever, all because of one medication. Can you imagine taking a pill and watching your body change in ways you never expected? Pretty terrifying, right? The man who grew a nose on his forehead. Most people try to hide scars, but one man decided to grow a whole new nose on his forehead. Sounds bizarre, right? But for a Chinese man named Jay Lane, it was the only way to fix his face. At just 22 years old, Jay suffered a terrible accident that severely damaged his nose. The cartilage was beyond repair, and doctors had no way to reconstruct it. That's when they came up with a wild solution: grow a new nose from his own tissue, right on his forehead. For 9 months, he walked around with a nose growing above his eyebrows, and when the time was right, surgeons successfully transplanted it to its proper place. It's one of the strangest medical procedures ever performed. But for Jay, it was life-changing. Would you ever go through something like this if you had no other choice? The man who drinks 20 liters of water a day. How much water do you drink in a day? A liter? Maybe 3? Well, for Mark Webenhurst, that number is a mind-blowing 20 liters every single day. Mark has a rare condition called diabetes insipidus, which makes his body unable to retain water. The result? He's constantly thirsty, no matter how much he drinks. He first noticed this when he was a teenager, and since then, his daily routine revolves around staying hydrated. He even carries around a 5-liter water bottle wherever he goes. If he stops drinking water for just a few hours, his body begins to shut down. Dizziness, confusion, and dry lips hit almost immediately. It's a battle he has to fight every day just to stay alive. Can you imagine being that thirsty all the time? The boy who stops breathing when he sleeps. Most of us don't think twice about falling asleep, but for Liam Derbyshire, sleeping could mean never waking up again. Liam was born with an extremely rare condition called congenital central hypoventilation syndrome, also known as Odin's curse. It's named after a mythical story where a water nymph cursed her unfaithful lover to stop breathing in his sleep. But for Liam, this isn't a myth, it's his reality. Every time he closes his eyes, his body forgets to breathe. The only thing keeping him alive is a ventilator that his parents have to connect him to every single night. Doctors didn't expect him to survive past infancy, but Liam has defied the odds. He's now in his 20s, celebrating each birthday as a miracle. It's a life filled with constant risks, but Liam's story proves that sometimes even the impossible can be overcome. The giant siblings who broke 5 world records. Most siblings argue over who's taller, but for Muhammad and Huda Shaheda, there's no debate. They're both giants. This Egyptian brother and sister duo has a combined height of 13.6 feet, about as tall as a London double-decker bus. Muhammad, now in his 30s, holds the record for the largest handspan of any living person. His hands are bigger than a dinner plate. He also has the widest arm span in the world. His gigantism, caused by an overproduction of growth hormone, made him grow far beyond the average height. His sister Huda isn't far behind. She holds records for the largest feet, largest hands, and widest arm span for a living woman. Their towering size may make life difficult at times, but it's also earned them a place in the record books. How would you feel about being the tallest person in the room, everywhere you go? The ballerina who wouldn't give up. Tiffany Geigel always dreamed of becoming a professional dancer, but the world told her it was impossible. She was born with Darko-11 syndrome, a rare bone disorder that made her spine crooked and her neck shorter than usual. As a child, she didn't feel different. She danced alongside other kids, enjoying every moment. But as she grew older, reality hit hard. Her dance teacher told her that the ballet world wouldn't accept someone who looked like her. Heartbroken, Tiffany gave up on her dream, but dreams don't die that easily. Instead of walking away, she found a new path. Tiffany joined Heidi Latsky's dance company, a place where dancers with disabilities shine. When Heidi invited her to the studio, Tiffany said yes without hesitation. Today, she's not just a dancer, she's proof that passion beats limitations. The man who sold his chin. Chengdu had the biggest chin in the world, and it wasn't just an odd feature, it was a problem. Born in China's Shugao region, he was a normal baby, but as he grew, so did his chin. Painful pustules developed in his mouth, and over time, they enlarged his jaw dramatically. Eventually, his chin became so big that he could barely close his mouth, making it almost impossible to eat or drink. Desperate for surgery, Chengdu came up with an unusual plan. He offered his chin as advertising space. He hoped to raise the $5,600 needed for a complete lower jaw replacement. It wasn't just about looks, it was about survival. With his condition making daily life unbearable, he avoided going outside, fearing people's reactions. But if his plan worked, he could finally live a normal life. The girl who's allergic to herself, Natasha Coates, was living her dream as a gymnast until, at 18, her body turned against her. Suddenly, she was allergic to everything, even her own hair and tears. One day, she could eat a certain food, and the next, it could send her to the emergency room. When her hair grew, it blistered her scalp. When she cried, her tears burned her skin. Her condition, called MCAS, causes unpredictable allergic reactions. But the strangest part? Natasha can sense when a reaction is coming. She says her bones start to ache, as if she can feel the air pressure changing, earning her the nickname Weather Woman. Despite the constant danger, she refuses to let her condition define her, proving that even the most unpredictable obstacles can be faced with courage. The mother of 2 sets of twins. Most people are shocked to have twins once, but Alexandria Wollaston had them twice in the same year. The Florida mom made headlines in 2019 when she gave birth to 2 sets of twin boys, defying odds of 1 in 110,000. Her first set, Mark and Malachi, arrived on March 13th. Just when she thought life couldn't get crazier, she found out she was pregnant with another set. On December 27th, she welcomed Kaylin and Caleb. No one in her family had a history of twins, making it even more unbelievable. Raising 4 newborns at once was overwhelming, but Alexandria wasn't alone. People from all over came together to help her, and a GoFundMe campaign quickly exceeded its $10,000 goal. Despite the sleepless nights and endless diaper changes, she embraces motherhood with gratitude, knowing her family's story is 1 in a million. The woman who embraced her birthmark, Patricia Bickles, was born with something that made her stand out, an enormous congenital birthmark covering over 80% of her body. In her home of São Paulo, Brazil, her unique skin condition was a rare sight, occurring in just 1 in 500,000 people. But while her birthmark made her different, it also made her a target. Growing up, kids cruelly called her ape and Dalmatian, making her feel like an outcast. But she refused to hide. Despite enduring over 30 surgeries to remove parts of the birthmark, Patricia eventually decided to embrace her natural appearance. With the support of her boyfriend Felipe, who loves her exactly as she is, she found confidence in her uniqueness. Now, she dreams of working with animals, especially monkeys, proving that beauty isn't about fitting in, but standing out. The boy who became a circus legend. Imagine being just 5 years old and already a global sensation. That was the reality for Charles Stratton, a little boy with a big destiny. Born in the early 19th century, Charles had dwarfism, but that didn't stop him from becoming one of the most famous performers in history. His journey to stardom began when he was discovered by the legendary showman Phineas Barnum. The circus saw him as one of their greatest attractions, and with his father negotiating the deal, Charles was soon given a fitting stage name, General Little Thumb. Audiences were captivated by his charm, talent, and unique appearance, making him a true miracle of the show. From the moment he stepped into the spotlight, Charles proved that sometimes the smallest people leave the biggest impact. The man with 50 extra bones. Most people have 206 bones in their body, but for Dan Azier, that number was much higher. 50 bones higher. Throughout his life, new bones kept appearing, growing in unexpected places. This bizarre phenomenon was caused by a rare genetic disorder that made extra bones form around his joints and rib cage. Dan Azier himself admitted that his condition wasn't easy to live with. Every movement reminded him that his skeleton was unlike anyone else's. Yet, despite the challenges, he carried his unusual burden with strength, proving that even the rarest conditions can't break the human spirit. The girl who couldn't stop smiling. Some people are just born to spread happiness. Alexandra Birch is one of them. From the moment she was diagnosed with Williams syndrome at the age of 1, it was clear she was different. This rare genetic disorder affects only 1 in 10,000 people, but it comes with a remarkable trait: an endless supply of joy. Alexandra is always smiling, always singing, and always eager to hug those around her. Making friends was a struggle in childhood, leading her family to homeschool her, but she formed an unbreakable bond with her older sister, Victoria. According to her, Alexandra has never been able to keep a secret. She's just too honest. But that's exactly what makes her special. She's a reminder that pure kindness still exists in the world. The man with 28 fingers and toes. Every time Da Vinci Southar picks up a tool at work, he has to be extra careful. Why? Because he holds a world record. He has 28 fingers and toes. Born in Western India, Da Vinci has 7 fingers on each hand and 7 toes on each foot, making him the only person in the world with this many digits. While life with extra fingers comes with its struggles, Da Vinci has embraced it. He loves the attention, enjoys performing fun hand tricks for kids, and even appreciates the celebrity-like treatment he gets from visitors. Though his condition makes daily tasks more complicated, he sees it as a unique blessing. After all, not everyone gets to be in the Guinness World Records. The man who never grew up. Imagine being 26 years old but still having the body of a 1-year-old. That's the reality for Manpreet Singh. When he turned 1, his growth just stopped. Now, as an adult, he's only 58 centimeters, 1 foot 11 inches tall, and weighs just 15 pounds, 6.8 kilograms. Doctors believe his condition is due to a hormone deficiency, but without expensive tests, they can't say for sure. Despite his small size and toddler-like mental age, Manpreet is surrounded by love. His family in Punjab, India cherishes him, and their village considers him an incarnation of God. They call him Baba and treat him as a blessing. Though he cannot walk or talk, he communicates through gestures and sounds, proving that love speaks louder than words. Born different but stronger than ever. Ella and Anna Pinero were born with a condition so rare that only a handful of cases exist worldwide. Imagine the shock their parents, Sarah and Paulo, felt when they first saw their newborn daughter, Ella, with a gap in her face between her eyes. It wasn't until after her diagnosis that they realized their second daughter, Anna, had the same condition, craniofacial cleft syndrome. From that moment, their journey became one of resilience and determination. The sisters have undergone multiple surgeries, including bone transplants and cleft repairs. But despite the hardships, they refuse to let their condition define them. Instead, they become advocates for others with facial differences, proving that beauty isn't just skin deep. We love standing out, they say, because it lets us teach the world about acceptance. The man who lived without a heart. Can you imagine surviving without a heartbeat? That's exactly what happened to Craig Lewis, a Texas man diagnosed with a deadly heart condition in 2011. His heart was failing, and there was no transplant available. But then, history was made. Craig became the first person to receive a revolutionary artificial heart that worked without a pulse. The device, called the continuous flow pump, didn't beat like a normal heart. Instead, it pushed blood through his body in a steady stream. The surgery was a groundbreaking moment in medical history, and incredibly, Craig lived for weeks without a natural heart inside his chest. His case opened new doors for artificial heart technology, proving that science is getting closer to rewriting the rules of life itself. The woman with a mind of her own, or at least her hand's own. What if your own hand had a will of its own? Karen Byrne, a woman from County Louth, Ireland, knows exactly what that feels like. After suffering a stroke in 2009, she developed alien hand syndrome, a rare neurological disorder that causes her hand to move on its own. Sometimes, it grabs objects without warning. Other times, it reaches out to touch people against her will. Karen describes it as having a naughty child attached to her body, one that she can't control. The condition is rare, mysterious, and deeply frustrating, but Karen has learned to cope. Even though her own hand betrays her at times, she refuses to let it take over her life. The wolf girl who embraced her uniqueness. Being different can be tough, but for Supatra Suzapin, it became her strength. Born in Thailand with a rare condition called Ambra syndrome, Supatra grew hair all over her body, including her face. When she was born, her parents were shocked, and doctors had never seen anything like it. As she grew up, kids called her cruel names like Monkey Face and Wolf Girl, but Supatra never let it break her spirit. In 2010, she earned a place in the Guinness World Records as the world's hairiest girl, turning what others saw as a flaw into a badge of honor. She even shaved her face in 2018, but the hair grew back. No matter what, Supatra embraces who she is, proving that confidence is the most beautiful trait of all. The world's oldest twins who stood the test of time. What's the secret to living over a century? Just ask Umeno Sumiyama and Kume Kodama, the Japanese twins who, at 107 years and 300 days old, became the oldest living twins in the world. Born in 1911, they grew up in a time of war, witnessed historical revolutions, and saw the world change before their very eyes. Despite hardships, they stayed active, walking together every morning and enjoying hobbies like calligraphy and crossword puzzles. Though their children and spouses have passed away, their bond has kept them going. Their secret? A healthy lifestyle, a love for sushi, and a deep appreciation for life itself. The human unicorn. Unicorns might be a myth, but human unicorns? They're real. Wei Yan, a man from 19th century China, had something straight out of a fantasy book, a horn growing from the back of his head. He was first spotted by a Russian banker who took his photo and sent it to Ripley's Believe It or Not. Robert Ripley, known for his fascination with the bizarre, desperately wanted to meet Wei. He even offered to pay for the meeting, but it never happened. Ripley didn't give up, though, and later found others with similar conditions. Even today, cases of horn-like growths exist, proving that sometimes nature is stranger than fiction. The only ones in the world. Catherine and Kirsty Fields aren't just twins, they're medical mysteries. Born in Llanelli, a small town in South Wales, these sisters have a condition so rare that doctors named it after them. Their progressive muscle disorder forces them to rely on wheelchairs and suffer over 100 muscle spasms every single day. Worst of all, one day they may lose the ability to speak entirely. But despite everything, these sisters refuse to let their condition define them. On one special birthday, they received an electronic speech machine, finally giving them back the ability to communicate. And the first thing they talked about? Not their struggles, not their fears. Harry Styles. Even with the odds stacked against them, their love for music and life still shines through. The man without thighs, Nathan Hrdlicka, was born with a condition so rare that only about 25 people in the world have it. But he's the only one who has ever done the impossible. Born in Santa Fe, New Mexico, Nathan's knee bones are located directly below his hips. He has no thighs at all. Walking seemed out of the question. At just 4 feet 5 inches tall, he faced challenges most people couldn't even imagine. But he refused to let his condition define him. With sheer determination, he learned to walk using prosthetics, becoming the only person with his condition to ever do so. And if you think that's impressive, his love life is just as inspiring. His girlfriend, Chelsea Stewart, was initially hesitant about their height difference. But after getting to know Nathan, she realized something. Love isn't measured in inches. The twins with impossible eyes, Megan and Morgan Boyd, don't just turn heads, they leave people speechless. Born in Philadelphia in 2013, these twin sisters are fraternal, meaning they don't share identical genes. But one thing they do share, the most striking blue eyes you've ever seen. Now, blue eyes aren't uncommon, but for these girls, they should have been impossible. Both of their parents have brown eyes, making their genetic lottery win even more mind-blowing. Their deep blue eyes stand out even more against their rich, dark skin, making them look almost otherworldly. Scientists can explain genes, but some things, they just feel like magic. The girl who smelled like fish, for Alyssa. Virtually, life has always been different, and not in a good way. She has a condition called trimethylaminoria, and if that sounds complicated, the reality is even worse. Her body can't break down a certain compound found in food, causing a strong, fishy odor to be released through her sweat and breath. It's a condition so severe that in extreme cases, people have been said to smell like actual rotting fish. Social life? Almost impossible. Isolation? Constant. But instead of hiding, Alyssa did the unthinkable. She decided to speak out. She became an advocate for people like her, sharing her struggles and helping others understand what it's like to live with a condition that makes you feel like an outcast. The giant of China. In a country where most people are of average height, Zhang Shichai stood out, literally. Born in 1841, this Chinese giant grew to a staggering 7 feet 10 inches, 2.4 meters, making him one of the tallest men in the world at the time. While today that might not seem record-breaking, back in the 19th century, it was beyond belief. But John didn't just sit back and let people stare. He made a career out of it. He traveled the world, performing and showing off his incredible height. Wherever he went, people were in awe. He wasn't just a man, he was a legend. The woman with the world's smallest waist. Could a 23-year-old woman really have a waist as small as a doll's? Sun Ying from Myanmar claims she does. Standing at just 13.7 inches, 34.8 centimeters, her waist is shockingly tiny, so tiny that people accuse her of faking it. Some say she edits her photos. Others believe she's undergone dangerous surgeries, but Sun insists she achieved this look naturally, without corsets or rib removal. For now, the official record for the world's smallest waist still belongs to Ethel Granger, a woman from the UK who wore tight corsets for years. But if Sun's claim is real, she might just have a shot at history. The man who inspires millions. Nick Dismatzik isn't just any 20-year-old from Inverness, Nova Scotia. He's a fighter. Born with neurofibromatosis, a rare genetic condition that causes tumors to form on nerve tissue, Nick has faced more challenges than most people do in a lifetime. But instead of letting it define him, he's become an inspiration. After 2 major surgeries to remove excess skin, he's now preparing for a third, one that could change his life forever. This complex procedure, set to take place in Toronto, will involve pulling back the skin on both sides of his face. Despite everything, Nick has won the hearts of millions online, earning the title CEO of Positivity for his uplifting messages about staying strong in the face of hardship. His brother Christopher has launched a GoFundMe to help cover the cost of surgery, recovery, and accommodations. Any extra funds will go toward future procedures. Nick's journey isn't just about transformation. It's about proving that positivity can conquer anything. The bearded lady who defied the odds, Annie Jones, wasn't just a sideshow act. She was a legend. Born in the 19th century with a rare condition that caused extreme hair growth, Annie's chin was covered in hair from the moment she entered the world. By the time she was a child, she had joined Phineas Barnum's circus, becoming one of the most famous bearded ladies of all time. Crowds lined up just to catch a glimpse, treating her as an oddity. But Annie was more than her appearance. She turned what others saw as a freakish trait into a career, proving that what makes you different can also make you powerful. The woman with 3 breasts. Ever heard of a real-life woman with 3 breasts? Back in 2014, the internet exploded with claims about a woman named Jasmine Trideville, who said she had a 3rd breast surgically implanted. People couldn't believe their eyes. Was it real? A hoax? The rumors spread like wildfire. Some insisted she had surgery to make it happen, while others called it a total fake. But Jasmine stood by her claim, saying it was 100% legit. The truth? Well, that's still up for debate, but one thing's for sure. She definitely got the world talking. The man who grew an ear on his arm. Most people get tattoos or piercings to make an artistic statement. But one man took things to a whole new level by growing an ear on his arm. Australian artist Stellark spent over a decade searching for a surgeon willing to help him turn his bizarre vision into reality. And when he finally found one, the world was left stunned. But Stellark isn't stopping there. His ultimate goal? To implant a tiny microphone and Wi-Fi system inside the ear, allowing people from anywhere in the world to tune in and listen to whatever he hears. Art or madness? You decide. The boy who never stopped growing. Rodrigo and Javier were born as twin brothers, but only one of them would survive their mysterious condition. From birth, their bodies grew at an uncontrollable rate, but while Rodrigo didn't make it, Javier kept growing and growing. His head, ears, and even the cartilage in his throat expanded beyond anything doctors had ever seen. His family searched for answers, but no other case like his has ever been recorded. Today, at over 2.35 meters tall, 7 feet 8 inches, Javier relies on a wheelchair to move around, but hasn't let his size hold him back. With a voice so deep it could shake the room, he spends his days helping around the house and proving that even the rarest conditions can't stop someone from living their life. The real-life Barbie doll. If you've ever scrolled through social media, you've probably seen her. Valeria Lukyanova, the Ukrainian model who looks exactly like a Barbie doll. Her face is flawless, her waist impossibly tiny, and her transformation seems straight out of a fantasy. People assume she's had a dozen plastic surgeries to look this way. But Valeria insists she's only gone under the knife once, and not for her face. Hard to believe, right? With expert makeup skills and an almost unreal physique, she has mastered the Barbie look like no one else. It takes her 1.5 hours just to perfect her signature makeup. And as for how she keeps that tiny waist, that remains her best-kept secret. The boy with golden blood. Most people never think about their blood type, but for Thomas, it's a life-or-death situation. He has Rh null blood, the rarest in the world, so rare that only 43 people have it. Doctors first discovered this shocking fact when Thomas was hospitalized with an infection. At first, they thought it was a mistake, but multiple tests confirmed the truth. His blood completely lacks certain antigens, making it nearly impossible to find a donor if he ever needs a transfusion. It's both a blessing and a curse. His blood is priceless for research and saving lives, but if something happens to him, finding a match could be nearly impossible. Twins who married twins. How close are you to your sibling? Close enough to marry another set of identical twins? That's exactly what Brianna and Brittany Salyers did when they tied the knot with twin brothers, Josh and Jeremy. Their story made headlines in 2022, but what's even crazier is how their kids are both cousins and genetic siblings. Despite looking alike, their children aren't identical because DNA mixing still introduces differences. And if you think twin couples are rare, think again. There are around 250 sets of them in the US alone. The woman with the world's largest hands. Imagine your hands being so large that even brushing your hair becomes a struggle. That's the reality for Duongjae Samaksamarn, a woman from Thailand with a rare condition that causes extreme swelling in her arms and hands. Each hand weighs nearly 22 pounds. Over the years, she tried multiple surgeries, but they only made things worse. Doctors say amputation is the only option, but she refuses to lose her hands. After spending her early years in hiding, she eventually stepped into the world to run her family's grocery store. Despite her struggles, she's determined to live life on her own terms. The man who walked like a pony. Robert Huddleston didn't just walk, he moved like a pony. Born in the early 20th century, he had a rare condition that caused his knees to bend backward, forcing him to walk on all fours. His unusual appearance led him to a life in the circus, where he became known as Pony Boy. In an era where people with rare physical traits often turned to performance for survival, Robert's story is one of resilience in the face of a world that saw him as a spectacle. The two-headed twins. Abby and Brittany aren't just twins. They share a single body. These famous conjoined twins captured the world's attention with their unique anatomy and vibrant personalities. They even had their own TV show, offering a rare glimpse into their extraordinary lives. Unlike many conjoined twins who undergo risky separation surgeries, their parents decided to let them stay together. Today, they continue to live life as one, proving that two minds can truly think alike. The man who hasn't cut his hair in 80 years. What would you do if cutting your hair meant risking your life? For 92-year-old Nguyen Van Chien from Vietnam, it's not just a belief, it's his reality. His dreadlocks have grown to an incredible 16.5 feet because he believes trimming them would bring misfortune or even death. His faith in mystical powers keeps him committed to this way of life, despite the struggles of managing such long hair. He rarely touches it, let alone washes or brushes it, but credits it for his long life and good health. The tribe that tattooed women to protect them. In the remote valleys of India, the Apatani tribe has a unique and fascinating tradition. Their women used to receive facial tattoos and wear large nose plugs, not for fashion, but to make them less attractive to outsiders who might abduct them. Over time, these markings became a symbol of beauty and status within the tribe. But their uniqueness doesn't end there. They also developed an ingenious farming system, allowing them to grow multiple crops in a single field, an ancient technique that still thrives today. The tragic story of the ape woman. Julia Pastrana was born different, and the world never let her forget it. Covered in thick hair with exaggerated facial features, she was cruelly called the ape woman. But those who knew her saw more than her appearance. She was kind, intelligent, and talented. She toured the world as a performer, her shows always selling out. She even found love and got married, but tragedy struck and her life ended far too soon. Despite the cruelty she faced, Julia's story remains one of resilience in a world that refused to accept her for who she was. The mother of 44, Miriam Nabatanzi, isn't just any mother. She holds the title of Uganda's most fertile woman. At 42 years old, she has given birth to an unbelievable 44 children, including 6 sets of twins, 4 sets of triplets, and 3 sets of quadruplets. Yes, you hear that right, 44 kids. But her life hasn't been easy. Born in a small Ugandan village, Miriam was forced into marriage at just 12 years old. By 13, she was already a mother, and the babies kept coming at an astonishing rate. Her rare condition, hyperovulation, made her release multiple eggs at once, leading to so many multiple births. As if raising such a large family wasn't challenging enough, Miriam's husband abandoned her when the children were still young. Left alone to provide for them, she struggled with poverty and health issues. But despite everything, she has remained strong, becoming an advocate for family planning to help other women make informed choices about their future. Her story has spread worldwide, proving that a mother's strength knows no limits. The real-life Mowgli. Before Zanziman Eli was even born, his mother had already suffered the loss of 5 children. When he finally arrived, she believed he was a blessing, but life wasn't kind to him. Eli was born with microcephaly, a condition that left him with an unusually small head and cognitive challenges. His village in Rwanda treated him like an outcast. Bullied and rejected, Eli found his refuge in the forest, where he lived for over 10 years. He moved, ate, and survived like a real-life Mowgli, completely disconnected from society. But life took an unexpected turn when a documentary about him went viral. Suddenly, everything changed. Eli, who once lived alone in the wild, was now getting an education. He made friends, found a support system, and even developed a love for wearing suits to school. Though he still struggles with communication, his story is proof that even the most isolated people can find a place to belong. The human owl. Martin Lorello had a talent that could make anyone's jaw drop. He could turn his head completely backward. Yes, like an actual owl. But don't try this at home because it's insanely dangerous. Back in the 1930s, when people first saw Martin twist his head 180 degrees, they were left in shock. Some even fainted. His bizarre ability caught the attention of the famous Barnum Circus, where he became a star performer. Unlike other circus acts, Martin looked completely normal until he turned his head all the way around, leaving audiences speechless. While it may seem like a superpower, this wasn't something he was just born with. Martin trained himself for years to stretch his neck muscles and make it possible. And while most people can barely turn their heads halfway, he mastered the impossible, becoming a legend in circus history. The man with a 33-pound neck. For 13 years, Wang Shijiang has been carrying a burden unlike any other. An enormous lump on his neck that has grown to a shocking 33 pounds. It all started when he went to the doctor for a simple stiff neck, caused by his job as a laborer. But instead of getting better, his condition worsened. Doctors tried hormone therapy, but it backfired horribly, causing his neck to swell to more than twice its original size. Wang was diagnosed with lipomyoma, a rare condition that could only be treated with expensive surgery costing over $13,000, money his family simply didn't have. While the condition isn't life-threatening, it has made daily life incredibly difficult for him. The last known reports about Wang remain unclear, but we can only hope that one day he'll get the help he needs. The living skeleton. Isaac Sprague was no ordinary man. He was a walking skeleton. His body was so thin, it looked unreal. Isaac suffered from a mysterious condition that caused him to lose weight uncontrollably, no matter how much he ate. As his body withered away, he struggled to find a place in the world. But instead of hiding, he turned his condition into his greatest strength, becoming a performer at the famous Barnum Circus. People traveled from all over just to see him, amazed by how someone so frail could still stand and live a normal life. Through his performances, Isaac showed the world that no matter how different you are, you should never give up. The woman who married a ghost. Some people believe in ghosts. But Amethyst Realm? She fell in love with one. This woman from England made headlines when she claimed she was engaged to a spirit named Ray. Their love story was anything but ordinary. Amethyst said she first met Ray on a flight to Australia when she felt his presence beside her. She later returned to Australia to be with him, and soon they were a couple. But here's where it gets even wilder. Amethyst revealed she had been in relationships with over 20 ghosts. However, Ray was different. She even believed they could have children together through energy transfer. Of course, not everyone believed her story, and she faced plenty of criticism. But for a while, she stood by her love for Ray until things took a turn. In 2020, she announced their engagement was off. The reason? Ray kept disappearing too much. Deciding to focus on her career as a spiritual counselor, she moved on from her ghostly romance, proving that even supernatural love doesn't always last forever. The model who redefined beauty. Most models fit a specific mold, but Sarah Gertz broke it completely. Born with a rare condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS, her skin is far more fragile and elastic than most. As a child, she tried everything to hide it, feeling insecure and different. But at 22, after a tough breakup, she decided she was done hiding. In 2015, she bared her skin to the world, not just physically, but emotionally, by sharing her story in a campaign that encouraged self-love. Now, she's an inspiration to anyone struggling with body image. The tallest woman in the world. Walking into a room, Rumi Sagi doesn't just stand out, she towers. At 6 feet 10 inches, 2.1 meters, she's the tallest woman in the world, a title she wears with pride. Her extraordinary height is due to Weaver syndrome, a condition so rare that only about 150 cases exist worldwide. But Rumi never let it hold her back. Not only is she a trained web designer, but she also holds 5 Guinness World Records, including the title for the largest hands of any woman. She proves that what makes you different can also make you remarkable. The woman who grew a second skeleton. Carol Orzel lived life with a fire that not even her own body could contain. She had one of the rarest and most painful diseases in history, fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, FOP. This genetic condition turned her soft tissue into bone, forming a second skeleton that locked her body in place. But even as her body stiffened, her spirit never did. Before she passed away, she made one last wish: to have her skeleton displayed in a museum for scientific study. Today, her remains stand beside another FOP case, ensuring her story lives on. The woman with 31 fingers and toes. Imagine walking down the street and people call you a witch. Not because of magic, but because of your hands and feet. That's the reality for Kumari Nayak, a woman from India who was born with polydactyly, a condition that gave her 19 toes and 12 fingers. Though she holds a Guinness World Record for it, life hasn't been easy. Some people avoided her, fearing she was cursed. She couldn't afford medical treatment, and the isolation pushed her to stay indoors. Eventually, the government stepped in, offering her a home and pension. Now she hopes to live with dignity, despite the superstitions around her. The woman who became a human bird. Minnie Woolley's life was anything but normal. Born with a rare condition that gave her bird-like features, she spent years locked in a mental hospital. But when she was finally released, she embraced what made her different. She took on the stage name Cuckoo the Bird Girl and performed in freak shows, wearing feathered costumes and dancing in a way that mesmerized audiences. She spoke gibberish, moved in strange ways, and people loved it. What once made her an outcast turned her into a star. The adult baby who found love. Jess is 23 years old, but you'd never guess it by the way she lives. She wears diapers, drinks from bottles, and plays with toys just like a baby. Featured in Extreme Love in 2019, she introduced the world to the adult baby community, a group of people who find comfort in living like infants. For Jess, it's a way to relieve stress and feel safe. And she's not alone. Her boyfriend, David, fully supports her lifestyle, even taking on the role of caretaker. But Jess insists, outside of her baby time, she's a fully functioning adult with a job, hobbies, and even a YouTube channel. The living torso. Prince Randian's incredible life. Can you imagine living without arms or legs? Prince Randian was born in the 19th century to Indian slave parents, and he came into this world with nothing but his torso. But that didn't stop him. Instead of being pitied, he became a star. Nicknamed the Living Torso, he performed in the famous Barnum Circus, amazing audiences with his ability to roll cigarettes using only his lips. Despite his challenges, he made a fortune, equivalent to about $1.1 million in today's money. His story isn't just about survival. It's about turning obstacles into opportunities. The girl covered in birthmarks. People often judge what they don't understand. Sierra Swaranjan from North Carolina knows this all too well. She was born with a rare skin condition called GCMN, which covers more than 2/3 of her body in birthmarks. As a child, she was bullied and called cruel names like Spotted Dog and Dalmatian. But Sierra refused to let others define her. Instead, she embraced her unique beauty and now spreads a powerful message of self-love. Her condition is extremely rare, affecting only 1 in 500,000 people, and even increases her risk of skin cancer. Yet, with confidence and courage, she continues to inspire the world. The woman with a horn. What would you do if a horn started growing out of your forehead? In 2009, a woman noticed a strange growth on the left side of her head. Over time, it kept growing until it reached an astonishing 6.25 meters. Doctors, even her own son, begged her to have it removed. Some even offered to do it for free, but she refused. To her, the horn wasn't a deformity, it was a part of her identity. Even though it made sleeping difficult, she loved the attention it brought. Visitors from all over the world came to see her and even brought her gifts. For her, being different wasn't a curse, it was a blessing. The man with the longest nose. Having a big nose is one thing, but imagine having a nose so long that it became world famous. Thomas Wetters, an 18th century man from Yorkshire, England, had a nose measuring 7.5 inches, 19 centimeters long. His enormous nose made it difficult for him to breathe, but instead of hiding, he embraced his uniqueness. He joined the circus, where people paid just to get a glimpse of him. Centuries later, his legacy still lives on. His statue is a major attraction at Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum. And guess what? His record for the longest nose in history has never been broken. The dog-faced boy. Born with thick hair covering his face and body, Fedor Jeftichuk didn't just inherit his father's genes, he inherited his fame. Known as the dog-faced boy, Fedor was born in Russia, where his extraordinary appearance caught the attention of talent scouts from Barnum Circus. His father, known as the Wolfman, had the same condition and had already toured Europe. Following in his father's footsteps, Fedor became a spectacle that fascinated audiences. Though his appearance set him apart, it also gave him a life of adventure and worldwide recognition. The woman with backward feet, walking, running, working. Wangfang does it all, just like anyone else. But there's one difference. She was born with her feet turned completely backward. Despite this, she never saw herself as disabled. In fact, she can run faster than most people. Born in Chongqing, China, Wangfang grew up adapting to her condition and never let it hold her back. Even when people stare, she remains confident. The only real difference in her daily life? She wears her shoes backward. While doctors believe her condition is a variation of clubfoot, Wangfang proves that nothing can stop a determined heart. The six-fingered family. Most people have 10 fingers and 10 toes. But what if your whole family had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot? For the De Silva family, this rare genetic trait isn't a disadvantage, it's their superpower. They believe their extra fingers make them better goalkeepers and musicians. While some might see it as a burden, the De Silvas have turned it into a strength. Instead of hiding their uniqueness, they use it to their advantage, proving that being different can sometimes make you even better. The girl with the beak-like nose. When Michelle Kish was born, her parents knew something was different. She had a small stature, a high forehead, and a beak-like nose. Doctors diagnosed her with Hallermann-Streiff syndrome, HSS, a rare disorder that affects the face, bones, and overall growth. Despite her challenges, including multiple surgeries and constantly being mistaken for a child, Michelle remains strong. HSS is so rare that it affects only 1 in 1.5 million people worldwide. But Michelle doesn't let the odds define her. She faces life with courage, showing the world that true beauty comes from within. The Ohio Bigfoot Girl. In the 19th century, if you walked into a dime museum, you'd see things that would blow your mind. Human oddities, bizarre talents, and unbelievable spectacles. But among them all, Fannie Mills stood out. Known as the Ohio Bigfoot Girl, Fannie had legs and feet so large that people couldn't believe their eyes. Life in the spotlight wasn't easy, but Fannie turned her unique condition into a fortune. She earned as much as $4,000 a week, an incredible amount for the time. Though people gawked at her, she made sure to cash in on their curiosity. The most beautiful twins in the world. Some people are born to be famous, and for Ava Marie and Leah Rose Clements, it happened the moment they entered the world. Born in California in 2010, these identical twins were so stunning that people couldn't stop staring. Their mother, Jockey, kept them away from the public eye for years. But when she finally shared their photos online, everything changed. The twins became an internet sensation almost overnight, amassing over 1.5 million followers. Now they're featured in magazines and media worldwide. But despite their fame, their parents have made sure they stay humble, valuing hard work and education above all. The man with an alien face. Imagine living your entire life with a face that people call alien. That's the reality for Jia Jinglong, a man from Chongqing, China. He was born with a rare condition called facial hyperplasia, which caused extreme tissue growth on his face. At first, the changes were subtle, but as he grew older, his face became so distorted that even his senses started failing. His hearing is almost completely gone, and his vision is fading. For decades, he had no hope, but now doctors say a groundbreaking surgery could help him. With his loyal brother by his side, Jia is fighting to raise the money to finally change his life. The crawling girl. For most people, walking is something they never think about. It's just natural. But for Chen Tuanxi, it was an impossible dream. Born with severely bent knees, her legs formed an L shape, making it impossible for her to stand. Instead, she had to drag herself across the ground with her hands, earning the nickname, the Crawling Girl. People stared, whispered, and pitied her, but she kept moving forward. Her life changed in 2013 when a local newspaper shared her story, bringing in support from people who wanted to help. After multiple surgeries, Chen can finally walk, proving that no challenge is too great when you refuse to give up. The boy who lived in a machine. What if you woke up one day and found yourself trapped inside a machine, unable to move, unable to escape? That's exactly what happened to Paul Alexander. In 1952, at just 6 years old, he was struck by polio. Doctors told his family there was no hope, but one surgeon refused to give up. Paul survived, but his body was completely paralyzed. He spent his life inside an iron lung, a machine that kept him breathing when his body couldn't. But Paul didn't let that stop him. He studied, became a lawyer, and built a life for himself, all while living inside a machine. Today, at 70 years old, he's one of the last people on Earth still surviving in an iron lung. The Scissors Man. Doctors told Marty Sheedy's parents that he wouldn't live past 2 years old. If by some miracle he did survive, they said he would never walk. Marty proved them all wrong. Born with arthrogryposis, a disorder that severely limits muscle growth and joint movement, his body faced challenges most people couldn't imagine. His hips were permanently dislocated, and he had no abdominal muscles. But Marty refused to let that define him. He taught himself to walk in a way no one had ever seen, crossing his legs like scissors with each step. Kids stared, asked questions, and he answered them proudly. He even gave himself a nickname, the Scissors Man. A brother's unbreakable bond. Oliver and Harry Bestwick may be twins, but they couldn't be more different. Not just in looks, but in the challenges life has thrown at them. Harry was born with a rare condition called golden Haar syndrome, meaning the entire left side of his face never fully developed. No left eye, no ear, no nostril. On top of that, he was diagnosed with autism at just 4 years old. But here's where things get special. Oliver, his twin, has always been Harry's protector, his biggest supporter. They share a deep love for football, and while Harry plays, Oliver is right there, coaching and guiding him every step of the way. Their mother, Lucy, decided to spread awareness about Harry's condition by launching a social media campaign called Different But Perfect. Because to Oliver, Harry isn't different, he's just his brother, and that's all that matters. The man with 3 legs. Most people are born with 2 legs. Frank Lentini, he had 3. And not because of a genetic mutation, but because he was born with a parasitic twin attached to his body. While most might have let this define them, Frank had other plans. Instead of hiding, he turned his condition into a strength. He became a sensation in the Ringling Brothers circus, using his extra limb to entertain audiences and make a living. What could have been a life of shame became one of triumph. Frank proved to the world that being different didn't mean being less. It just meant standing out. Literally. The man with 2 hearts. People say having a big heart is a good thing. But what if you had 2? Tyson Smith didn't have a choice. His heart was failing, and doctors made an unbelievable decision to give him a second one. Instead of replacing his failing heart, they added a new donor heart to work alongside it. The surgery was risky, the kind that most wouldn't survive. But against all odds, Tyson pulled through. Now, he walks around with 2 hearts beating inside him, a living medical miracle. And while most people say they put their whole heart into something, Tyson can say it and mean it literally. The twins no one believes are twins. When Haley and Lauren Durant tell people they're twins, they're met with the same reaction every time, pure disbelief. And honestly, it's easy to see why. Haley has dark skin, brown eyes, and black hair. Lauren? She's white, with blue eyes and blonde hair. They don't just look like different siblings, they look like they come from completely different families. But their bond is unshakable. They've learned to embrace their uniqueness, using their story to educate others on the beauty of diversity. And here's the craziest part. Their parents had another set of twins, Mia and Leah, who are also biracial with different skin tones. The odds of that happening? 1 in 500,000. The Durant family isn't just unique, they're 1 in a million. The world's smallest woman who stole the show. At just 20 inches tall, Lucia Zarate wasn't just small, she was the smallest woman in the world. But don't let her size fool you. This little lady had a presence that could fill an entire stage. She first captured the world's attention at the Philadelphia Centennial Exhibition in 1876. But she wasn't just there to be stared at, she had talent. With her incredible dancing and singing skills, she soon became a sensation, performing across America and England. Lucia proved that greatness isn't measured in inches, it's measured in impact. And she left a big one. The boy with 8 limbs. People thought he was a god. Others feared he was cursed. But Deepak Paswan was just a boy, born with 8 limbs attached to his chest. In his culture, some worshipped him, while others kept their distance, believing he carried a dark omen. But there was nothing mystical about it. It was a medical condition. At 6 years old, Deepak underwent a life-changing surgery, and today, he looks like any other kid. The extra limbs are gone, and so is the superstition that once surrounded him. The boy with extra DNA. Imagine being the only person in the world with a genetic code no one had ever seen before. That's Alfie Klump's reality. Born blind and battling multiple health issues, doctors ran several tests, only to discover something shocking. His 7th chromosome contained extra DNA, something never documented in human history. This discovery led scientists to new insights about the human body, making Alfie a true medical mystery. These people are truly 1 in 1,000 years. Were they born this way for a reason, or was it just fate? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.